Tomorrow, all eyes turn to Capitol Hill for a pivotal new hearing on UFOs. The Senate's Emerging Threats Subcommittee is putting the spotlight on AARO, the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, and its leader, Dr. John Kozlowski. This isn't just another meeting behind closed doors. After a private session, the public hearing is expected to stream online, likely on YouTube, giving us a front row seat to what could be another major step in unraveling the UFO mystery. What will AARO reveal this time? Let's dive in. Let's begin with the media roundtable in which AARO head Dr. John Kozlowski was questioned on November 14th. And I quote, question, Nick Schifrin, PBS NewsHour. Thanks very much for doing this. This may be basic and silly, but I just want to read you a quotation from the hearing yesterday and have you respond to it. This is Luis Elizondo, from former DoD official. Quote, let me be clear. UAP are real. Advanced technologies not made by our government or any other government are monitoring sensitive military installations around the globe. The U.S. is in possession of UAP technologies, as are some of our adversaries, end quote. Can you just give us a sense of your perspective on that quotation? Dr. Kozlowski, break that down. So there's a lot in that quotation. Firstly, absolutely agree. UAP are real. We, as I said, we've received 1,600 cases. A large number of those are unresolved, which means we don't know exactly what they are. Until we know what they are or who they belong to, we can't attribute intent and understand exactly what the purpose of that phenomenon is. So we're not comfortable, we at AARO are not comfortable saying at this time whether or not the UAP are there to collect information or not. In regards to whether or not AARO, US government, or any other government has UAP, we have not found any evidence of that at this time. Question, but the bottom line conclusion remains what you said at the top. There is no verifiable evidence of extraterrestrial activity. Dr. Kozlowski, we have not found any, no. There are definitely anomalies. We have not been able to draw the link to extraterrestrial. So, here's the problem that will emerge as we transition into a post-disclosure world. AARO says there is no verifiable evidence of extraterrestrial activity and no evidence of UAP being in the possession of the US government, at least not at this time. But they had better hope that evidence never surfaces. Why? Because Congress has been asking for it for 7 long years. If that evidence does end up emerging, the Department of Defense will look terrible. It will prove that they clung to the cover-up for as long as they could, instead of stepping forward and showing Congress they were part of the solution, not the problem. But apparently, they don't want to show Congress that. They don't want to minimize disruption as we move into a post-disclosure world. Instead, they seem determined to hold their ground, continuing to lie and obfuscate the UFO issue until the very last moment, when they'll inevitably be forced to concede the truth that we are not alone in the universe. Here's scientist Mike Gold, a member of NASA's UFO study program, referencing a forthcoming documentary expected to be incredibly disruptive, one that could expose the Department of Defense as deceitful. I've hypothesized that retired Lieutenant General James Clapper, who has led 3 separate government agencies, will play a significant role in this upcoming documentary. Let's play the clip.
But every hearing like this, every news report, every video, documentaries. I was privileged to be a part of something Dan Fair is putting together. I think many of us have interviewed for it, documentary over 30 different government officials. Every brick in the wall will help get us closer to getting to the truth.
Mike Gold referenced 30 government officials being part of this upcoming documentary. 30! What happens when they all say something very different than what AARO's been saying? There are 2 primary possibilities in this scenario. Either these officials have some kind of psychological issue where they are out of touch with reality, or AARO, intentionally or not, is part of the cover-up. John Kozlowski was asked, and I quote, "You know, a lot of people read that or saw just that hearing. You know, when you said there was no breakthrough technologies, I mean, the person seems to be suggesting that, you know, at a minimum, these are breakthrough technologies." I think he's referring to Lou Elizondo and some of the other witnesses. "What leads you to assume that the ones that the UAP cases that you can't resolve are not potentially breakthrough technologies? Or is it that you just haven't been able to conclusively decide either way?" Dr. Kozlowski: "That's exactly right. So we don't fully understand the phenomenon enough to say whether or not it's a breakthrough technology or not. So it's a very small percentage of our overall cases that after the initial analysis still have the anomalous characteristics that one could attribute breakthrough technologies to. It's less than 3.5% of our cases, and we're still studying those with our IC and SENT partners, trying to understand what technologies could be used to provide those characteristics. But we don't understand them well enough to say whether it's a breakthrough technology, a misunderstanding of the sensor performance, or something else." Question: "And a skeptic might say that, you know, just because you can't explain it isn't a reason to assume that it's not a breakthrough technology. Or I mean, by the definition of breakthrough technology would be something that you don't have. If you don't have it, you can't explain, right?" Dr. Kozlowski: "Agree 100%. So we're not ruling it out. We're open to that as an explanation for it. But we're just not attributing breakthrough technology as the explanation to it. An open mind works both ways. So if we don't understand what it is, we can't say that it is or is not a breakthrough technology. So we're just trying to keep an open mind." Question: "Got it. It's not a catch-22. Dr. Kozlowski, right." Question inaudible, okay. Dr. Kozlowski: "Yes. We accept that the explanation could be a misunderstanding of ours in interpreting the data, or it could be a breakthrough technology. Until we understand, we don't know." I genuinely think Dr. Kozlowski's approach is fair. He is being very cautious about whether to designate something as breakthrough technology or not. That said, if he were to admit or even convey that some UAP definitively represent breakthrough technology, that alone would be a paradigm shift in its own right. In a recent article from the War Zone, Dr. Kozlowski also confirmed that AARO is not ruling out an extraterrestrial link for some of these UAP. That's a critical point, even if they're remaining cautious about drawing any conclusions. If I were Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, one question I'd ask Dr. Kozlowski during the upcoming hearing is this: have you reviewed the UFO satellite imagery that David Grush, John Ratcliffe, and Chris Mellon have referenced? If not, why? And if so, what's your assessment? Based on their descriptions of the satellite imagery, it seems there's a strong case to conclude that at least some UAP represent breakthrough technologies. This goes back to what I said earlier. The Pentagon seems determined to cling to the cover-up, refusing to give an inch until they have no other choice. In that context, consider what journalist Michael Schellenberger stated during the November 13th hearing about the kind of data the U.S. government possesses on UAP, but refuses to share with Congress or the public.
What's the key takeaway, just a few seconds, about the Immaculate Constellation document you provided us today?
I think that what the American people need to know is that the U.S. military and intelligence community are sitting on a huge amount of visual and other information, still photos, video photos, other sensor information, and they have for a very long time. And it's not those fuzzy photos and videos that we've been given. There's very clear
high-res,
high-resolution.
How many visuals, graphics, videos, photos?
I mean, I've been told hundreds, maybe thousands. I mean, I also wanted to say, because there was some conversation around concern around the revealing of these materials, revealing the source collections, but some of these are shot from helicopters using normal videos of oceans. I just think that's absurd that somehow you're going to be revealing some secret U.S. technology by revealing that you've photographed orbs off the coast of Kuwait.
If the Immaculate Constellation document is accurate, why doesn't AARO have access to these higher fidelity data sets, like satellite imagery, video, and other sensor-derived information? Even Lou Elizondo has publicly stated that the Go Fast Gimbal and FLIR 1 videos, the ones we're all so familiar with, are among the least compelling UAP videos the US government possesses. And let's not forget the allegations of a crash retrieval and reverse engineering program. If such a program exists, it would mean the US government isn't just holding on to sensor data, they're also in possession of alien artifacts. Journalist Brad Dress stated, and I quote, "Thank you, Brad Dress for The Hill. Have you found anything that might be a breakthrough technology? I know you're saying you don't know if there are breakthroughs yet, but something that might be a breakthrough technology near the military sites. Some of those sightings you've seen near the military sites, have you found anything that might be that? Or are they all just been drones and UAS, Dr. Kozlowski?" It's definitely not all just drones and UAS. So we have several particularly interesting cases we're working on within the office, working with our partners to downgrade several of those cases. So we can talk about them publicly. But there are interesting cases that I, with my physics and engineering background and time in the IC, I do not understand, and I don't know anybody else who understands them either. That's certainly interesting. The head of AARO is clear. It's not all drones and UAS, unmanned aircraft systems. Even with the full resources of his team and collaborators, he admits no one has been able to fully understand some of these UAP incidents. Now, let's dive into the final component of the roundtable that I want to discuss. Dr. John Kozlowski stated, "We're going to be hosting a declassification workshop so we can make sure we're implementing best practices from across the DoD and the IC. All of that takes more time than I think the public would like for it to take. But AARO is working on it. We're recognizing that the types of cases that I was just talking about are, from my perspective, true anomalies. And we're going to need significant scientific rigor to address those. And yes, the US government has a lot of nice scientists, a little biased there, but we're going to need the help of academia and the public to address some of these. So we need to build that more transparent partnership." Question. I'm sorry if I missed it before, but what is AARO or your definition for breakthrough technology, Dr. Kozlowski? So lots of people, lots of organizations have different definitions. And the definition, the working definition that we've been using informally inside of our office, and we are working on more formal definitions for the different domains for space, the air domain, and the undersea domain. But the general definition is beyond state-of-the-art today and beyond where we think that we could get in the next couple years. So we keep an eye on the capability of ourselves, our partners, and everyone else at the academic and the very technical level. And then if it's beyond that, then we would say that's a breakthrough technology. Journalist Matt Laszlo of Ask a Poll interviewed Kirsten Gillibrand. I don't know exactly when, but I know it published on the 13th and 14th of November, so I assume very recently. And I'm going to give you some of the interaction he had with Kirsten Gillibrand, who will be, as far as I understand, the chairwoman of the hearing that's going to occur tomorrow. The closed hearing starts at 3:15, I think, and then after that is the open hearing, which I don't know exactly what time it will occur, but as soon as I find out and get a link to the stream, I will put it in the description box below. But let's go over a little bit of the interaction between journalist Matt Laszlo and Kirsten Gillibrand, senator of New York, I think. Kirsten Gillibrand stated, and I quote, "Because I want the community to know this is a body of stuff, nobody knows what it is, and so that they feel and know you're respected, you're being listened to. We want your data and information. We want to co-locate it, and we want to cross-reference it." And then this is going to be the scientists behind the assessment of what tech is it? How is it flying? How is it? What's the propulsion? Because even if we don't know whose it is, we need to know how it's doing what it's doing. Matt Laszlo, right? Kirsten Gillibrand responds. And some of these drones are in that category. We don't know whose they are. We don't know what propulsion they use. We don't know the tech. We don't know it. It's not off-the-shelf stuff. So that might give you some perspective on the direction tomorrow's hearing will go, or at least some of the direction tomorrow's hearing will go. I'm pretty sure that Kirsten Gillibrand is open-minded, just like Kozlowski is, in terms of where these things may originate. And she may have more firm perspectives on it that she holds privately that she's not willing to express publicly. Who knows? That might be true for Kozlowski as well. I don't know. I want to end this video with two really interesting tweets that tie into this whole thing, in my opinion. And these two tweets are from someone. Let me tell you his name. His name is Harold Malmgren, and his Twitter profile says, advisor to Presidents Kennedy, Johnson, Nixon, and Ford, as well as many global leaders, focused on trade, markets, geopolitics, and strategic security. So this is someone who could easily have had inside information, classified information during his various tenures. Now, this is really interesting. He wrote on November 10th, 2024, responding to Wesley pseudonymously, who wrote, Harold, could you give us your prediction of what Trump's term means for UAP UFO disclosure? Harold Malmgren responds, how much government UAP knowledge Trump is thinking to disclose and how fast and how soon is probably under discussion by a handful close to Trump, as they consider what to do and when they must be mindful. China and Russia must also be readying their own UAP disclosures soon. And then he quoted what I just shared with you and wrote, China has also experienced increased UAP events. China has set up UAP monitoring in other parts of the world with a major site in Patagonia. There is a risk that Xi Jinping decides to leap ahead to announce his leadership of all humanity to address otherworldly life. And this is something that's been discussed from various people, that if the United States does not confirm the presence of non-human intelligence, the acquisition of recovered craft and biologics, another nation is prone to do it, whether that's China or Russia, who it's believed to have their own crash retrieval program and have retrieved artifacts as well as biologics, just like the United States. Now, what would happen if China or Russia disclosed first? Well, they would have the infinite eternal legacy in the world of allowing 8 billion people into the fold of this knowledge of the universe. And they would be perceived, I could only assume, as the leaders of the world regarding this topic. I'm sure it would give them some very significant geopolitical advantages. And so in that sense, I think the United States is playing with fire. I don't know why they're not disclosing quicker. However, what I suspect is going to happen is that because I believe the Trump administration is more prone to disclose than any administration preceding it, partly because of the climate we find ourselves in with whistleblowers coming forward and hearings and Congress being so vocal, but also partly because of the cabinet selections Donald Trump has brought into his administration, including his pick for CIA Director John Ratcliffe, who has on multiple occasions been transparent about the nature of UAP, going further than any other CIA director ever has. I know there have been other directors who have mentioned UAP and talked soberly about it, but not to the extent of Ratcliffe, not as much as Ratcliffe, and most importantly, not before they became the director. They said things after they were the director. Ratcliffe has said all the things that he has said before he becomes director, and that's a different animal. But within this equation, let me suggest a potential outcome. As this escalates, as I anticipate that it will, if you've watched to this point, you heard scientist Matt Gold, I think is his name, who was working for who worked for the NASA study team on UFOs. He said that he was interviewed for an upcoming Dan Farr documentary, and he said that 30 government officials have been interviewed for that documentary. And I anticipate, or at least I hypothesize, I have a perception that former retired lieutenant, I think of the Air Force, James Clapper, who has been the director of 3 separate government agencies, I think he's going to be in it too. And so he would be one of those 30 government officials. So as this escalates and it becomes quote unquote cooler for people to be open about the UFO issue, I think egos are going to start entering the picture. People are going to see the writing on the wall. People are going to understand that UFO transparency is only going to increase, and we will eventually get UFO confirmation. So it's just going to, I think, escalate and expedite officials coming forward and talking soberly about this topic, not making things up, but talking about their experience in government and what they've been read into as much as they can legally share and stuff like that. So I think that's going to be part of the equation as we move forward. So, and we'll continue to have hearings. So we'll get better witnesses, we'll get better questions. People are going to want to get a piece of the pie of this historical trajectory that we're on. They're going to want to say things and be a part of things that, 10 years ago would not have been something that was even imaginable. Because people have egos and they're going to want to be part of the history books. And so I think you should not underestimate people's egos leading to them being more open about this topic in various ways. And that's kind of exciting. So I'm going to leave it at that. I look forward to the hearing tomorrow. Let's see what happens. I know that Kirsten Gillibrand mentioned Langley Air Force Base. I think it was in December of 2023. There were many incursions there that are highly bizarre. No one knows where these drones came from, who's behind these drones, what the origin of these drones are. Drones could be non-human, drones could be human, but I think she intends to talk about that as well. So, and I might do a video on that Langley incursion. But we'll leave it at that. If you are not subscribed, I'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe, because I'm going to continue to upload regularly. If you'd like to support this channel, you can check out my merch shop where I sell t-shirts. You can become a patron. You can become a YouTube member. You can give me a one-time donation. All those potentialities can be accessed in the description box below, or you can just stop a like on this bad boy, and I'll appreciate it so much. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Special thanks to all YouTube members, patrons, those that have bought merch, those that have given me a one-time donation. I couldn't do it without you. Thank you so much. See you in the next episode.